Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. Welcome back to the United Community Podcast, another episode, and we've got plenty to talk about. Today's episode is based around the upcoming summer transfer window and the potential overhaul of this Manchester United squad. Who's to leave, who's to stay, who's to be brought in. We're going to talk about it all. We've got a list of players in a couple of different positions that we're going to get into. And obviously, we've got Chris and we've got Ben on with us as well. Oisín can't make it tonight because we're a little bit earlier than usual. So, yeah, boys, how we doing? All good? You know, going into the transfer window, or sorry, not the transfer window, the international break on the back of a win, which is always good.
Always good. Always good.
Yeah, perfect, isn't it, really?
Yeah, can't beat it, in fairness. Right, let's jump right into it. We're going to talk about the potential overhaul that could happen at Manchester United in the summer. Now, I say could because, you know, we don't really know how much we're going to have to spend. There's a little bit of, you know, trepidation about can we go out and sign the players we need to sign? Do we need sales before we can actually sign players as well? And as well, guys, anybody that's watching live, I do want to get your thoughts on all of the topics that we're mentioning as well. So let us know in the comment section. But we're going to start it off and we'll work from back to front, I suppose, more than anything else. And Chris, you kind of sent on a little list of players that you've got your eye on, and you know, obviously we'll delve into some of that, but I want to start with the centre back position because, and I think it's more than likely going to be the left side of centre back that we're going to look at again. And I think by all accounts, I think this could be the third summer that we're actually potentially in for a left-sided centre back. We got one in Lisandro Martinez 2 seasons ago. We went for Brantwaite last summer. You mentioned Inacio on the list of players that you had, and obviously he's going to be up there with an awful lot of players and an awful lot of teams in terms of where he might go in the summer. It does look like he could leave Sporting. Give me your opinions on him and how you think he may fit into this Manchester United side next season.
I mean, I think I've liked him for a couple transfer windows now. I mean, I think he's the right size. I mean, I think he's more quick than he's more quick than pacey. You know, like he doesn't have a lot of like long speed, but he's quick, left-footed, a little bit on the taller side. I think it's 1.86 meters. So that's like 6'1", somewhere in there, about 6'1". So a little bit taller. I mean, I like him. I like him a lot. I mean, I think he's a quality player. I mean, he's smooth on the ball. And again, the bonus is he's played for Ameren. He's played in the system. He knows what to expect. He knows how to press. And I think that's the biggest thing that we have to look at when we look at players in the transfer window. Can they press? Because eventually we will press high. And I think that's the biggest thing that people are not looking at is, you can go out and buy this guy or that guy, but man, they got to really be able to know how to press and know how to, because when you press like that, you look at the game differently. You got to anticipate where the ball is going to go, and you got to be there. You can't be reactive. And that's the biggest thing. Everybody has to be on the same page.
And we've seen that even early doors with Ruben Amorim at Manchester United and I think it was De Ligt early on in the first couple of games where he was nearly looking over at Ruben Amorim when the attacking player dropped off maybe to the edge of his own box, and Amorim was going, go with him, go. You know, and I think we have seen more of that in the past few weeks.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at even like in Aiden Heaven, when we talk about, I mean, he's following his forward all the way towards his own box, because he's not letting them have that outlet, and that's the biggest thing. But other players got to be able to read that and move with it, and everything like that. And I think that's the biggest thing, because for the longest time we've been, when you play with the back four, Oisín's favorite 4-4-2, you're more reactive than you are on the front foot. Yeah. You're reacting to different things and so forth, where now we have to initiate things. And I think that's the biggest difference. Like if you watch Sporting when they played City and, Amorim's big win and they beat them 4-1, it's because they went after them. Like they dictated, not offensively, but defensively, they dictated where the ball was going to go. And that's the biggest key, is that, you got to be able to do that. And, I think that's why Casemiro didn't play for the longest time, because Casemiro likes to play in between players.
Yeah.
So when the ball goes to a certain player, then he'll go to him instead of taking something away. It's kind of like, Jack, I don't know, like when I played, it was, our coach used to always say, leave the guy, like if the ball's on the left side, leave the guy all the way on the right wing. Fine. Because what are they going to do? They're going to play a 40-yard ball in the air. You're going to be able to get there.
Exactly.
Exactly. And I think that's where, because you got to close the space off on the left side. So everybody's come in. If the guy's going to sit on the touchline, leave him there. Because what's he going to really do? Even if they play a big 40, 50-yard ball, if we can't recover and find that, then we're in trouble.
Yeah.
We have bigger things to worry about. So, that everybody's got to move together, and you can't, and that's where Rashford and Anthony, I think that's where they lacked, because they would always stand wide and they wouldn't close the gaps and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, 100%. And look, obviously we've seen here with with the details on the screen, Ben, with Inacio, obviously, everything in green is really good. And what am I after doing? I can't figure out where the where I put the bloody thing. I'll cut this out of the actual podcast. But yeah, like here we go. And I think, everything in green is good. When you're looking at a centre back, and this obviously looks, sorry, that's a different player. This is the player we're talking about, Inacio. You're talking about passes attempted. He's in the 97 percentile for centre backs. Successful take-ons, in the 98 percentile as well. So he's up there with some of the best centre backs in the world by the looks of these stats, coming out with the ball, playing the ball forward, pushing up the field, and he's also got his tackles really high and his blocks really high as well. When we're looking at these kind of stats, Ben, is looking at a ball-playing centre back something we need? And I want to kind of focus a little bit on the fact that, we've got Aiden Heaven now, and hopefully his injury is not too bad. But, we've got a ball-playing defender in Yoro. We've got a ball-playing defender in Lisandro Martinez. We've got a ball-playing defender now in Aiden Heaven. Would you be focusing on another one there, or would you be looking at more of a Delict? Would you like maybe a backup to him, a Brute? Not that he's a brute, but he's able to play football as well. But you know what I mean? What style of centre back would you prefer we went for in the summer?
No, I think we need a ball playing just to suit our system, as you say. I think he can do the other side if he needed to. I think that Inacio is just a perfect fit for Man U, though, isn't he? Like you say, he's worked with Almiron. That's the sort of player that we need now to fit into the system that we're playing.
Yeah, he's only 23.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that was going to be my next point then, Chris, because if we're talking about going out and getting another ball-playing centre-back, does that mean maybe then that Harry Maguire gets an extension and stays at Manchester United, maybe as one of them central two? If you're going to be talking about De Ligt being the number one centre of the back three, surely Maguire could be kept on, he'll have to get a new deal, so his wages will come down, which is good for us. But would you be happy with Maguire getting a new deal?
Yeah, I mean, as a squad player, we've all kind of been on the, he's been playing so well and doing in transitioning into an Amarin style center back that I don't mind having him as a squad player. I don't want him as a starter though. There's a difference, I do, and looking in, when you had us do the list and stuff, I'm thinking of it in the summer. So I'm thinking Aiden Heaven's going to be healthy. I know Martinez is going to be out until January. So I'm taking that into consideration, meaning like, okay, because some of the other positions that we'll talk about later, maybe you can afford to go out and get a guy on a free, and maybe get an older center back, maybe, like a Maguire, if we end up keeping him, because he's going to be a squad player. He's not going to be an everyday starter. Yeah. And I'm okay. And I think that's where I'm a little apprehensive with Ineos, because everything that you read is, oh, we got to get the 21-year-old, the 20-year-old, the 19-year-old, the this, the that, and everything. And I'm going, okay, we have enough of those guys right now. If in a transfer window, if you want to buy one every transfer window, that's fine. But in order to compete, we need to buy some players with some, with some clout, with some, like what Drew said in the hot takes last night, we got to have a clinical guy. And a clinical guy is not 20 years old. A clinical guy is 26, 27, 28.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to sign him to a 2-year deal, not a 5-year deal.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that's where you got to have a healthy mix. You got to bring in your young guys, but then you also got to bring in guys that are going to be able to do the job and not hope they can do the job.
Yeah, absolutely. And another alternative, Ben, would, and this is someone that we've been tracking for a couple of years now, is Jared Brantwaite. And the links are there. And I know, Chris, you're not a big fan of him, but the links continue to be there. And of course, there has to be the homegrown element where you've got to have a certain amount of, British players. I think isn't it within your squad. Look, I don't think the price tag is going to be at the levels where, they were looking for 70 million pounds last year and they were never going to get it, and recent reports with Brantwaite are suggesting around 35 million. He's been on United's radar for a long time. Look, he's physical, he's strong, he does have composure on the ball, but is he maybe one of these players that because, and again, you're probably the best person to ask this, because he's English, is his talent maybe been blown out of the water a little bit, exaggerated a little bit, or would you prefer going for an Asio, even though you might have to pay a little bit more for him?
Yeah, Brantwaite being English is going to be overpriced, isn't it? Like you say, I think that's a big thing, isn't it? 70 million for him is just ridiculous, isn't it? So, like you say, if you're going 30 million, then yeah, fair enough. But I think Iniacho is a person that you need to go for, and if he says no, then you go to the Brantwaite and just say, look, we're going to offer you 30 million, take it or leave it.
Yeah, absolutely. Go on, Chris. You're biting your lip there.
Okay. Brantwaite at 70 million, absolutely not. Never, no way,
absolutely,
no how. Yeah. Forget about it. If you're talking about Brantwaite at 30, I can get around on that. But just like anything, no one's going to give United no Premier League team is going to give United a discount. Especially, it's just not going to happen. So Brantwaite, I'd be shocked if he goes for less than 40 to 45. Yeah. And at that point, do I take Brantwaite at 40 or 45, or do I take Ignacio at 40 or 45? I take Ignacio at 40 or 45. Because the one thing about Brantwaite that you just don't know is that you don't know if he can press like that. So how old is Brantwaite? 21, I believe?
I think so, yeah, 21, 22 most.
So I'd rather take Ignacio at 23 that knows how to play in the system. Even if you have to pay a little bit more for him, I'd rather take him because he's basically seamless. You put him in and you're like, he knows what's going on. Brantwaite.
Yeah, and he's also been challenging for league titles. He's also played in the Champions League. He plays for his national team.
Don't get me wrong. I think Brantwaite, he's played a lot. He's played well this year. Everton has been – it's hard to see what's going on with Everton, but David Moyes doesn't play a high pressing style.
Yeah, and David Moyes is not going to want him to leave in the summer either.
Exactly. So, now if you get Brantwaite at a discount, because let's say I don't think they're going to get relegated now, but if you could have got him at a discount, then of course you look at him. But I've just never been a big fan. I think it's English hype at that point.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And I'm not saying he's not a good
compare him then to me, because you mentioned this guy, and I won't lie, you're going to have to take the ball and run on this one, because I don't know an awful lot about him. You mentioned him before we went live. Coney De Winter, obviously playing for Girona, 22 years of age. I can't find whether he's a left footer or right footer. I'm not 100% sure. He's right footed.
He's right-footed.
Okay.
But he's bigger. He's 1.9 meters, so like 6'3".
Yeah. Give us your thoughts on him and how potentially he could fit into this Manchester United side going forward. We'll put his stats up on the screen while you're talking.
I just think that playing, he's more of a right-sided center back, but he's huge in the air and and everything, and he's very good one-on-one from what I've seen and I've read and so forth. So, I like him. I think he's smooth, but I think he's more of your De Ligt style
Well, I was just going to say, if you look at the very bottom there, look, Aerial Jules won 95 percentile. You don't get that unless you're an animal.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
But I just think he's more of your Delict style, where he's the big bodied center back that you need, and everything.
So
like
for
that.
example, like we were talking about, if Maguire wasn't to be, kept on at United, this is the type of centre back that you would be going for, to maybe back up the Ligt or to challenge him for that central role.
Yeah. I mean, and to be honest, I this past week I've seen his name put out there, so I started doing research on him. I started reading about him, watching some highlights and stuff like that. I mean, he steps through guys like he's not afraid of contact.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Like he doesn't get a lot of yellow cards or anything like that, but he's gonna crunch somebody when you need, like when he wants to. It's gonna hurt. Someone's gonna be laying on the ground when he's done.
Yeah.
So
I do love them centre backs, I have to say. Let me get through some of the comments here and see what guys are saying. Aaron says, am I the only one who prefers Ahmad as a wing back? We'll get to the wing backs next, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well. The Lost Poet says, the Lap is a real shout for United, and as of today, Joe Bellingham, it'll be an interesting summer. Yeah, we're going to talk about Joe Bellingham in a few minutes as well. D doesn't think so. Bellingham's brother isn't our level, neither is the Lap. Homegrown, yes, but not Brantwaite. And he also says, I would give them 35 grand and a Mars bar for Brantwaite. So there we go. There we go. Keep getting your comments in, good and bad, guys. As they come, we'll read them out. But look, let's move on and let's talk about the wing back positions, because look, obviously, it is an area that we're talking about. And before we get into potential players that could come in, Ben, I'll go to you on this one. Obviously, reports over the last couple of days have suggested that Ruben Amorim is probably going to stick with Ahmad and maybe look at using him as a wing back next season. He's been impressed with him in that role. And obviously, there was that long-standing stat over, I think, was it the first maybe 15 games under Ruben Amorim that anytime Ahmad didn't play in the wing back position, we didn't score from open play. So what's your thoughts on Ahmad as a wing back? Would you prefer to have him in the 10 higher up the field? With the fact now that Garnacho's slotting into that, sorry, before you answer, I do have to say, like, with Garnacho, like, really settling into that right number 10 position really well. You had Ahmad playing right wing back, with Garnacho in the right side of the number 10, I just think that would be absolute dynamite going up that right-hand side. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm 50-50 on it. I can understand why people want to play him there.
Get off the fence.
Yeah, it is, yeah. But I don't see him as playing there all the time. I think we need to bring somebody in, and I think Ahmad will be a good backup to play there if he needs to be, but I think he's better off up the field rather than as a wing back.
Yeah, and we go back to what we said, Ben, as well, is that it's good to have options with different players that can play in different positions.
Yeah, because like you say, Garnacho, when he has a down day, Ahmad, you just rotate them, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, what's your thoughts on Ahmad as a wing back?
I would start him there because I think we need, not that he's not a good enough number 10, but I would start him there and I would rather spend the money on buying a better number 10 and playing him. And I'll be honest with you, you talk about Garnacho is going to come off the bench for me next season. I don't think, unless his finishing all of a sudden like starts to really, really get better. But like, I would say that I would spend my money on, and we'll talk about him here. He's on my list and we get to play against him. So we'll get to see him, is the kid from Lyon, Turkey. I mean, I think he's a lot, like, you're going to see him. He's going to cause us some problems,
Yeah.
And I've watched him, and he's a good player. And I just think that, with Ahmad playing right wing back, it's going to give us a lot more options. Now, am I saying he's going to play there 100% of the games? Absolutely not, because I think we're still going to have Delo. Delo's going to be in there. And like we talked about before, Amarin, if you looked at Sporting, not both wing backs are necessarily attacking all the time. Because if you do that, then you're leaving two center backs back there by themselves, and that's not a smart thing to do. So you're going to have one that's going to be a little bit more withdrawn a little bit, which, maybe he inverts like Delo is good at, where he inverts into the middle and so forth. But like in talking about a wing back, like I have a guy on my list. I would not buy a wing back. I would spend the money on if I'm going to take that money and put it somewhere, I'd buy another CDM.
Yeah. And I suppose what we have to remember as well is Ahmad in the duels is fantastic for a player of his size. Very, very good at winning possession, winning the ball back, overturning it. Absolutely fantastic. Look, I agree with everything you've said there. I don't think it would necessarily be Ahmad's primary position. But again, I mean, I would have no problem with him playing there because he's a threat going forward and defensively he's quite good. And I think as well with Dorgu on that left-hand side, who's potentially going to, who will be our left wing back next season, he ain't a bad defender either, in fairness to him. He's well able to mix it up, going forward and getting back a real athlete. But Chris, while you're speaking there, I want to talk about the player that you mentioned for the wing back position, Arnaud Martinez, playing for Girona at the moment, 21 years of age, 2 goals, 2 assists this season. And stats are pretty decent, in fairness. Let us give us your thoughts on him.
I think he's a very good player. I don't think he's as exciting as Dorgu, but I think he can be your Kirkes, for Bournemouth. Is it Bournemouth? Yes. Bournemouth. Yeah. I think he's very Kirkes-esque in the right wing back spot. I think Dorgu's more athletic, more pacey than Martinez is, but and I think a little bit more physical. But I mean, Martinez is not small. He's 1.8 meters. So yeah, he's decent size. So I like him. In looking at it, and I was reading some stuff. I mean, Transfer Market has him listed as around 10 million euros. Yeah. I mean, let's inflate that a little bit. If you get him for like 15 to 20 as a right wing back at 21 years old, I'm okay with that, but also with wing backs, you got to remember, we still have Mazraoui and we still have Delo that play. Mazraoui's typically should be on the right side.
Yeah.
So it's not like are we hurting for that attacking threat? Besides Ahmad, yeah, we are, but I think our money's much better spent somewhere else.
Elsewhere, yeah.
But I like Martinez for that. If that price is true, let's even say he's 15 to 20 million euros, because Transfer Market's usually off about 10 when they start talking.
Well, if we look at his stats here, like we had on the screen there a moment ago, pass attempted, very good. Pass completion is very good. Progressive passes, everything you'd want to see in a wing back. Now, when we're talking about wing backs, let me flick over to Frimpong and watch the colors change. There's the difference. We're talking about the best wing back in the world. Currently, you would have to say. You're talking about everything going forward here. Now, this is versus fullback, so it's probably a little bit inflated. If we go against, attacking midfielders, wingers, it does tend to drop a little bit. But, when we're talking about the defensive side of the game, he is everything you would want as a wing back. Ben, I mean, again, Chris mentioned there that, money could probably be better spent when we're talking about investing it in terms of wing backs. If somebody like, Frimpong has got a 40 million release clause, which, by all accounts he does, would you err on the side of Chris and reinvest that money somewhere else? Or, when you've got somebody like this potentially available in the summer now, there's going to be every team and their grandmother in Europe is going to be trying to sign this guy, come June. Do you just have to go for him?
If he wants to come, I think you've got to, haven't you? I think it's all going to come down to whether we get Champions League football or not, though, isn't it? That's the sort of player that you sign into when you get your Champions League. But like Chris says, I don't mind going looking for the little 10, 15 million pound gems.
Yeah.
This moment in time, that's what, like you say, go and get somebody for 15, 20 million and put the money elsewhere where we need it.
Yeah, and we've been calling for that for a long time, as fans as well, going, where's the Brighton signings? Where's the, the Borussia Dortmund signings and so on and so forth? And I think we're starting to see it, in fairness, I think our transfer activity under Ineos, I know it's been only one summer and one January. I think it's been fantastic. I won't lie. Like, you look at the players we've signed, the 5 players last summer, all of them now are playing really, really well. And the players we signed in January, Dorgu and Heaven, for a snippet each, you know. And when you're talking about, you know, nicking the likes of Cheeto Obi then on a free transfer, and, you know, Diego Leon coming in, you know, next summer for very cheap. Chris, I mean, they haven't done much wrong yet, have they?
No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe you could say they missed out on a couple things, but as far as who they signed, no.
Like
honest,
what would you focus on there on what they missed? Like, are you talking maybe they missed out on a Harry Kane, maybe, or somebody like that?
I don't want to say just a Harry Kane, but I think they missed out on a clinical striker, because I honestly think, and we'll get into Rasmus a little bit later, but the problem that we have is that we depended on a 19-year-old, 20-year-old Rasmus Højlund that, if you look at his stats, even at Atalanta, he was not a everyday starter, and he only scored 9 goals in Serie A. And you expect him to come to the Prem and lead the line for United. That's not going to happen. And whoever thought that was going to happen, they're idiots. Like, they, you know, I mean, I just don't. I mean, does Rasmus have a lot of promise? Yes, he's a big kid. But just like everybody else, they need to learn. And, you know, and I think that's the biggest issue is, like, even if you would have went out and signed somebody that is 29, 30 years old, and you sign him to a 1 or 2 year deal, just so Rasmus can sit and watch and learn, you know, and it doesn't have to be a Harry Kane. It's just somebody that's established that, you know, can score goals, like a Cavani. Like, if Cavani was there when Rasmus is there, that'd be like match made in heaven, because you could watch him and learn and watch how he moves and everything like that. Now it's more like, I feel bad for Rasmus, because in practice, it's like, well, you should be there and you should run there and you should, like, you could tell his feel for the game isn't quite there yet.
Yeah.
You know, and the one thing that Ben said, and I want to reiterate, and this is my personal feelings, like, I'm tired of hearing about guys that, they only want to sign with us if we get Champions League. Piss off. Then I don't want you. I mean, I'd rather take Martinez, you know, the young kid, that I can now mold him into what Amarin can mold him into what he wants him to be, then worry about Jeremy Frimpong. Like, oh, well, you guys have Champions League, so now I'll come here. Because what happens if we miss out? Is he going to be unhappy? Or are you going to get the young kid that's going to be happy to play and and wants to prove something? And I think that's where we need to look at as a club and say, I want to get the guy that wants to be here to be there for what the badge that Ben's wearing right now, and not because you have Champions League, now I'll come. Like, that's my personal gut feeling. Like, I don't want a mercenary. I want someone that wants to play for the club.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, when you're seeing some of the, like I even seen we're linked with that the kid from Flamengo, Franca, I think, Wesley Franca, right back as well. And, you know, you're talking about finding these talents. Now, I think supposedly this guy is 25 million, which, you know, is a lot of money when you're talking about somebody from South America. But, you know, again, has the attributes, you know what I mean? Yeah. Powerful, fast, good defensively, good going forward, you know, standing out in the Brazil Serie A. You know, so these are the types of signings that you want to be just kind of coming out of nowhere and going, oh, Manchester United have signed. Did any of us really know about Dorgu before we signed him? You know, no one did. And now everyone's gone, oh, fucking yes, Ineos. You know what I mean? That's brilliant. That's what we should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I mean, and this other kid, though, that Leon kid, the Diego Leon, I mean, if it's true what I see on the internet, of course, you know, everything's, you know, snippeted and everything like that. This kid's a man-child. Like, he looks like Antonio Valencia now at night. Like, that's one of those things where, like, was he born in the mountains and he got his birth certificate like 3 years later?
Did you read, right? I seen a report today suggesting that Man City and Man United have been caught up in a little bit of a scandal about the ages of some of their academy players being falsified. Now, again, does that come directly from the club, or does that
Yeah.
come from a player coming from a foreign country going, no, I'm not 21. I'm actually 15, and give me 5 years to just settle in. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely
Yeah.
not. And you know what? I don't think, I don't think either club, and we're not City fans, but I don't think either club is literally going to make someone younger. There are advantages, but at the same time, like, if the kid supplies a birth certificate, like, hey,
Yeah, you've got to go with it.
You got to go with it, or you're looking at him going, you're 6'3", 200 pounds at 19. Like,
Yeah.
what have you been eating? Like,
yeah. Well, listen, if it means we can get them for 20 million pounds cheaper, then fucking happy days. You change that 6 on that birth to an 8 quick. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But yeah, happy days. Let's see what people are saying in the chat here. The last post says we need Cunha. There we go. Now, he would be an expensive signing. Now, that's the thing again when you're talking about Premier League. D is in. He says, what about? I'm always afraid to read out these names, right? Gertruda from right back. For the right wing position, fast, good end product, defensively not bad. He also says that Amori Oscarson from Sociedad looked dangerous when he came on in both legs. 20 to 30 million price tag. Thoughts? Again, I'm not 100% sure. I had about 8 pints of Guinness in me when I was watching him in Old Trafford. So I'll be
honest. Even when we played Sociedad, I wasn't impressed with anybody. Even Zubamendi, I kind of sat there and went,
yeah, what's this all about? Yeah, absolutely.
Arsenal, go ahead.
Yeah, D says, yes, Chris, yes. If they don't want their badge, they can pause for dramatic effect. F off. And he also says, Leon is powerful. Get him used to the pace of the game here, and he will run over defenders going forward. Well, we're going to have, a complete overhaul of that. And, as the thumbnail says, summer overhaul, we're going to have an overhaul of that left back position, between now and the start of next season, because we're talking about, Dorgu is already there. Diego Leon is coming in. Harry Amas is also there, who's, knocking on the door of the first team squad as well. So I'm excited. I'm excited about that. Right. Want to move it on. I want to talk a little bit about central midfield a little bit next, because, obviously it's an area that United could potentially improve on, and we're probably going to have some departures in the summer. And Ben, I'll go to you first on potential departures. Obviously, it looks like Christian Eriksen, may depart in the summer. And, I'll be disappointed. I won't lie when he leaves. I love Eriksen. He's just such a silky smooth footballer. But it's over for him. No, it is. Chris, come on. He died on the football pitch, and now he's playing for Manchester United. That is the stuff of dreams, But
for him, yes. For us,
for him, of course, yeah. Yeah. But Casemiro as well potentially could be leaving. Now, reports have said that he's happy in Manchester. His family is settled. I'd say there's 350,000 reasons that he's happy to stay. Look, I think we're all on the same boat that the two of them need to leave. But do you see both of them leaving?
Yeah, I can. I could see them both going. Casemiro, I think he'll get some opportunities elsewhere abroad. Like you say, whether he wants to stop to get the paycheck or not is a different story. But I think that's a big decision for him to make, isn't it? It's, do you want to play football or do you want to earn the money?
Yeah, and it's probably only Saudi Arabia, really, isn't it?
Yeah. And like you say, at his age, though, it's up to him, isn't it? Does he want to play football or does he want to take the money? Because he's already got money, hasn't he, when he come to us? So
yeah, and I suppose there has been some, I suppose, whispers potentially about the MLS, Chris, for Casemiro. I mean, I wouldn't be overly surprised if he links up with Messi and, Suarez and maybe them kind of guys at Miami. You'd never know. And look, an awful lot more about the MLS than us. And obviously they've got salary caps and so on and so forth. Yeah. How difficult would it be for someone like Casemiro to actually go to the MLS?
Well,
would he have to go to a club that maybe doesn't have the likes of Messi already there soaking up a lot of wages?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky because it all depends, because, they can work their magic and they have a certain number of players. I think it's one or two. I think it's two now. You have what they call a designated player, and that doesn't count against your salary cap at that point, like a Messi and I think Inter Miami is a possible landing spot, because I think they're starting to get rid of, like, I think Suarez is not going to be around again, and I think some of those guys are going to move on a little bit, and then that'll make room for someone. That's when I go like this to David Beckham and go, remember the badge you played for? Why don't you help us out a little bit and bring him to Miami? But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Casemiro comes to MLS. I think he'd be dominant in MLS, to be honest. And I have to be honest, I can tell you this from the bottom of my heart. I have not watched 1 minute of the MLS.
Yeah,
it's awful.
Yeah. It's awful. Oh, absolutely awful. Do you know what just proved it for me? Do you see how Suarez runs now?
Yeah, with his knees.
Like it looks like he's running through a swimming pool, just trying to get up and down the field. It's absolutely crazy.
Well, when you live in Miami, there's a lot of stuff to do there, so it's not like you're training all the time. So it's
exactly.
I mean, I'm sitting outside right now, and it's 75, 80 degrees right now in March. So it's like,
well, look, I won't give out about the sunny weather, because we've actually had a relatively warm enough day here today. The sun was out. I had my sunglasses on out for a walk with the dog. It was lovely. I think it was about 9 degrees, 10 degrees maybe. You know what I mean? There he is. Look, the Terminator down the middle. Right, let's talk about, maybe potential replacements. And you mentioned Rayan Cherki as maybe, and this would be probably more so Christian Eriksen replacement, more so than a Casemiro.
He's a 10.
Yeah, give us your thoughts and opinions on him.
I think he's silky smooth. I mean, I think he wins the ball, he holds the ball. He's not afraid to, he's not afraid to hold the ball, but he knows how to, he doesn't necessarily always try to like one touch pass and this and that and get rid of it, and I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, but sometimes Bruno likes to do his flicks and tricks and stuff like that. Cherki doesn't do that. He's going to beat someone, and he's going to go, and I think he's good in tight spaces, like in and around the box and at the top of the box, a la like a younger Paulo Dybala, where, he's going to play those little 1-2s and so forth and so on. Like he's going to connect with the striker. Like even if Xerxes was playing striker for the moment, like he's going to be able to connect with those little passes and put guys through and make the runs after he passes, to get the 1-2 pass and to get through. I mean, that's why, like when we play Lyon, I'm a little worried about him, because he's a tricky player, I think, and he's only 21. He's a French international, and everything like that. But you know how hard it is to break into the French team. I mean, they got boatloads of talent there.
And what are we talking? We're probably talking maybe 40 million?
No, they were talking about, because Lyon's in financial trouble in January. They were talking like 19. So like if you can get him for less than 30, it's a slam dunk at that point. Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, that's what they were talking about in January, that he was, they were on the books. You could get him for less than 19 plus add-ons or something like that. Like, even if you look at him in the transfer market right now, where did I have him? There he is.
There. Yeah, he's up to 40 million here.
He's up to 30, but even if you're getting him at 30, that's not for a 21-year-old that, if you look at his stats, I mean, he's good. Like, I like him a lot. I mean, look, his stats here, the more green, the better. I mean, assists, assisted goals, XG, all 96, 99, 99, 99, passes completed 96, progressive passes 99 percentile, successful take-ons 97 percentile. This guy, on paper looks the real deal. No, I mean, he reminds me of he's not exactly a winger, but he reminds me of a Kvaratskhelia, the guy that went to PSG. Like when he played over in Serie A, like he's that type of player. Like he's going to get in and around players and make them better. And that's the one thing I like about him,
Yeah.
And that's why, I mean, I think he's a player that would make Rasmus maybe take the next step, because he's going to put him through. He's going to put him in position and everything like that, so. Yeah.
Well, so D says here, he says, we want an out-and-out number 10. Well, first of all, he says, my God, Chris, not Cherokee again. How much is his agent paying you? We play Leon. I think a lot is going to be revealed about the lad. But he says, we want an out-and-out number 10 for easy cash now and to become even better in the future. We need to look at Lauren, the lad's a complete magician. Well, I want to throw another name out there, right? Because this name has been swirling around a little bit over the last few months, and we could potentially get him on a free transfer. And that's a former Manchester United player, and it's not Paul Pogba, it's Angel Gomez. Now, a lot of reports suggesting that United could, potentially be in the market for him again. Now, look, I won't lie, I haven't been following him too closely. When you look at his stats in Ligue 1 in France, he's played 18 games so far, 2 goals, 1 assist. I mean, it doesn't stand out as being absolutely fantastic, but it hasn't got bad, passing stats. 97 percentile for pass completion. Progressive passes is 88%, 89% for passes attempted, so on and so forth. Maybe Chris, or either of you, Chris or Ben, maybe a better, cheaper alternative if somebody like Cherokee can't be gotten.
Yeah, I'd say he is. Just free transfer. It's another number in there, isn't it, for us? What's to say we can't get him and then go and get somebody else anyway?
Exactly. Yeah. And when you're talking about having to navigate your way through, a transfer window where, again, like we said, we don't know what kind of money is going to be involved. Chris, like, have you seen much of Angel Gomez since he left Manchester United? I mean, look, there's always the positives that, he knows the club. He's been in and around Carrington. He obviously, it's probably completely changed since he was last there. But what's your opinion? He's 24 years of age. Sorry?
Nothing's changed at Carrington.
Nothing. Well, it'll be changed by the time he gets back, if he does come back. All that regen is going on there at the moment. But my point being is it a good idea to go back for players? You know what I mean? He's 24 years of age, so he's probably just coming into his prime now, you'd nearly say.
I mean, I'm not against it. I mean, but again, we got to look at, what's the caveat to that? The caveat is that he's not going to be your first choice, number 10. So if you're looking at him and saying, okay, well, we're going to bring him in, he's going to come off the bench because you're going to have Garnacho and Bruno, because maybe we will spend somewhere else. So Garnacho and Bruno will be playing there. Xerxes will be playing there, and he'll be the fourth option behind Xerxes. And let's just say Xerxes is staying, and so forth. So he'll be the fourth option behind, but if you're going to do that, then you got to show me you're going to spend somewhere else. That's my biggest thing. It's like, okay, well,
that's what I was thinking though. It's Ericsson replacement, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because Ericsson's been in and out of the team like that, and
Ericsson came on free as well.
But the difference is, I mean, Angel Gomez is not a big, I mean, I know Ahmad is not a big guy either, but Ahmad's shown that he can play. Angel Gomez has yet to show he can play in the Prem yet. I mean, that's why we let him go. Because, I mean, when I watched him in preseasons and stuff, and I know it's only preseason, but he's a smaller guy, and, maybe he's grown up a little bit. I mean, I haven't watched him, I got to be honest, but at the same time, I've looked at his stats, and because, his name's popped up a couple of times, so I read about him. Yeah, okay, but tell me you're going to buy somewhere else. Like, if you're going to go spend big on another position like a striker, I'm all for it then. So be it. If you tell me that we got to get Angel Gomez because we're going to get Yorkeres or Osman, hey, let's go. I'll be right there with you. But
Chris, before we move on to the strikers, I want to just give a mention to the player that you put into the group as well. More defensive side, Martin Holman.
Yes.
Thank God you said that, because there's so many J's and U's and L's in that I really didn't want to attempt it. But yeah, again, I won't lie. Don't know an awful lot, but obviously he plays for Sporting. I presume he played under Amarin before. So he scored a nice goal in the Euros against, I believe it was England. From outside the box. Yeah, Ben knows. Oh, sign him up. Oh. Go on, Ireland.
I mean, a lot of people, and this is just what I read. They consider him like the Danish version of Michael Carrick.
Okay.
you know, and I mean, he's a big kid. He can play. I mean, he presses well. And I think if you put him with Ugarte, like, no one's going to come through the middle. I'm telling you that right now, you know,
So
and everything like that. So
would I be right in saying he would be maybe a more physical version of maybe a Frankie de Jong or someone like that who takes the ball off the back four?
yes, 100%.
Okay. Yeah. And that's,
100%
they're not
of that. And then
a bad
also, I
mix of
mean,
characteristics.
he's like a quarterback. I mean, he's going to start things off. Now, will he always finish it? Does he have the motor that Ugarte has? No, but I mean, he knows how to. Again, he's played in the system. He knows where to be. He knows how to press. You know, I think what would happen is you'd see him play a little bit more in front of the center backs, and you see Ugarte move forward a little bit to win the ball in front of him at that point. That's the way I see it. I've liked him for a while. I mean, he's smooth, and like I said, I agree with, as I watched him play for Denmark and I've watched him play for Sporting, he's very Michael Carrick-esque. He's not as good as Michael Carrick, so people don't go nuts on me about that. But I mean, when you watch Michael Carrick play, he wasn't super flashy.
Oh, I loved Michael Carrick.
But what did he?
Carrick was missed more when he weren't playing, weren't he? That's all player where you didn't realize what he did.
He did everything right. Like he made the right passes, he made the right tackles, he made the right moves, and that's what I love. That's what I think we need, that leader, and I think he can be.
You imagine, right? And Ben, this is probably aimed towards you, but could you imagine if the 4-3-3 system had been in and, you know, popularized while Sven-Goran Eriksson was the manager of England, and you would have had Scholes, Lampard, and Gerrard, and then maybe when Scholes retired, Carrick would have just sat into that number 6, and you could have had Lampard and Gerrard ahead of him. You would have won the World Cup.
Yeah. Same as that though, with the way that England used to play, Lampard and Gerrard could never play together.
Yeah. It was just
for the formation.
Unbalanced. Yeah. I used to love, I remember Sven-Goran Eriksson one time, and I was going, oh my God, they're never going to win anything. There was a game, I think Beckham was coming towards the end, or maybe he wasn't actually. But anyway, long story short, they were looking for a goal. I think you were 1-1. And he brought on Peter Crouch. This is Sven-Goran Eriksson now. He brought on Peter Crouch and he took off David Beckham. Right? I mean, how in the name of God, how stupid do you have to be? And Lord rest his soul and all of that as well. I just couldn't understand it. What was he what was he, you know, what were the thoughts about Sven-Goran Eriksson at the time as manager? Because he had a very good reputation at club level.
Yeah, when he first come in, he had a good reputation, and that, but like you said, it's just stupid mistakes like that. You're bringing Crouch on to get a goal and taking Beckham off.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and he had an affair then with one out of the Gladiators as well, didn't he? The blondie haired girl. I can't remember. Anyway, back to football. Back to football.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. Let's move it on and talk about strikers, right? Because look, we know the names that are being linked, right? And Ben, I'll ask you first. Who do you want? Because look, it's Gyökeres, it's Sesko, it's Osimhen, it's Delap, it's, you know, Mateta. Who do you want to see as our striker at the start of next season?
Osimhen.
Okay.
I already took her out. She's okay.
And any specific reasons for that? Is it in relation to, you know, maybe I suppose the fact that he's in his prime, he's an experienced striker, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, definitely because he's experienced. I just think myself, if we go and get another young striker, I've got names wrote down that I've put down. If we sign a young striker, we need to go and sign somebody like Chris Wood, Callum Wilson, for them to learn off. That's the issue that we've got. I know it's just names, Chris, that's been there in and out.
Yeah.
Chris you need Wood, somebody, don't you, that's experienced in the Premier League.
Yeah, I know what you mean in terms of the specific set of attributes, you know, to play in the Premier League. Strong, physical, fast. You know what I mean? And so let me flip it then, Ben, and ask you. You know, we're talking about Osimhen. I'm sure you'd be happy with Gyökeres. You know, talk to me then a little bit about Sesko. You know, Delap, these types of players. While, you know, they may not be the the household names as the Gyökeres or the Osimhen, do you think that it would be enough for United next season?
It could be, but like you say, it's the unknown again, isn't it? I think we need to go and get somebody that we know that could put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Chris, this is probably the biggest decision that Ineos are going to have, in the next 5 years.
Yes.
Get a striker that can score goals.
Yeah.
Go.
Gyökeres, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, his release clause is 62 million. That's nothing. I mean, that's what his release clause is. And if you believe what you read, the gentleman agreement that we won't go in for him in January, or we're going to wait until the summer and stuff. And I don't believe this stuff that he won't come just because we don't have Champions League. I don't believe that for a minute.
Well,
he's never come out and said anything like that. So.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question to you, because I was going to say, let's say that is true, and on the flip side of that, we've got Victor Osimhen, who we all know is a Manchester United fan. So you were mentioning earlier on, that the crest that Ben has on his chest there is what you want to. People want to play for. So does that come in to the reckoning as well?
I mean, if that would, Jack, I'm just saying what I've read and I've, listened to different podcasts and stuff, is that other people have said that. No, his camp or anybody has never said that. So I won't take. Now, if that does come out, then I'll back off of it, and I'll go with someone like an Osimhen that says, if they say they want to play and they're an established striker like that we know can be clinical in front of the net, then yes, I will go with that. And like they said that I read today that Osimhen's wage demands have come down considerably, and that, the price tag could come down considerably from what Napoli wanted initially, like a year and a half ago.
I think the majority of players are going to be, the majority of strikers, Sesko, Osimhen, Gyökeres, it's going to be about 60 million, isn't it?
Yeah. If you get Osimhen for 45 plus add-ons or 50 plus add-ons, and you got Gyökeres for 62 plus add-ons, or the release clause is 62, I'm okay with those two. Like Delap, don't get me wrong, I think he's a fine player, good young player, plays for Ipswich, has shown that he can score some goals in the Premier League and everything like that. But if you watch Ipswich, they play off the counter. That's what he does. And let's be real about it. Is he a big, strong guy? Yeah, he is. Young kid and everything like that, but that's not what we need. We already. Yeah, but now, if you're telling me we're going to get rid of, if Rasmus is going to go away, and you're going to bring in another player like that, like there's the other kid that they were talking about, Eketia or something like whatever.
Eketia.
Don't do that. You'll kill me.
But see, the thing about it is that you're saying there, Delap is big and strong and physical and a big chap, and he's well able to handle himself in the Premier League. But there's a difference between handling yourself in the Premier League with the weight of Ipswich on your shoulders, and let's see how strong you are when the weight of Manchester United is on your shoulders, and you got to score goals. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's a big difference.
And I think that's where you find Rasmus. I just saw. I don't know if Jack, you watched WWE. They just showed a picture of Rasmus Højlund standing.
Hold on. Let's get this right now. I used to watch. Okay. Sorry, I never watched WWE. I watched WWF.
Okay.
When it was good.
You know who I'm going to talk about. They showed a picture. Rasmus met Brock Lesnar, and you know who Brock Lesnar is. UFC fighter. Rasmus is not small standing next to Brock Lesnar.
Yeah,
and that's when you look at him and you're like, okay, he's got the physical attributes, but again, like I said earlier, he's got to learn. And he's 21 years old. Like, what do you want from the kid? And he's a kid, let's be honest, because we've only known one player in history in Wayne Rooney that has come in at an age of that and been a dynamo. I don't know of another one.
Yeah, anyone that's watching on YouTube can see we just put up on the stream. Now, look, I know this is coming from TalkSport, so it's not the most reliable of sources, but they are reporting today that Rasmus Højlund is expected to leave Manchester United in the summer. And Gazzetta dello Sport from Italy are also saying that Napoli will try to secure a deal to sign Rasmus Højlund this summer, but cannot afford to meet United's asking price of 50 million. You would expect, the rumors to start circling then, Chris, about you know, if it is going to be Napoli, will there be a swap deal on with Osman? And I'm sure that will come into the equation as well. But if you go out and get an Osman, do you need to bring in a second striker as a backup?
Yeah. I mean, I think at that point, I think you need to bring in somebody that, I mean, you already have Cheeto. If Cheeto's going to be, if Obi, or we call him Obi, if Obi's going to be your secondary or your third striker as a young kid that's going to learn, I'm fine with that. But I still think that if something happens to Osman, you can't rely on Obi to be there 100% of the time, because it may not work out as well as we want it to be. I mean, Obi's got all the attributes and he looks the part. But again, like when you watch Obi play a little bit, you can see he's a little off pace. He's a little.
Yeah. He's rough around the edges, isn't he? He's young and naive.
Yeah, and that's not a knock against him, but he's from all the stories about he scored 10 goals in one game and scored a hat trick here and scored a hat trick there. He's a little off of it because I think he's a little. I don't want to say starstruck, but it hit him like you're in the Premier League now.
Yeah, this is a different pace here altogether.
Exactly, yeah, but so I mean, I think you bring in even if you bring in an Osman, to go with what Ben said, then maybe you do bring in someone and I'm going to use his name loosely, Callum Wilson or someone like that can, if you put him in there, he's going to be able to score some goals and everything like that. But
absolutely.
Again, he's not whoever you bring in after that is not a long-term thing. That's a short-term thing.
Absolutely.
And that's where you have to. That's where I'll look at Ineos and say, okay, you made the right call there. I mean, if Rasmus leaves, and I understand it, and everything. But at the same time, you bring someone in. But at some point in our team, in our squad, there has to be experience besides Bruno. Because if you look at our squad right now, who's the most experienced? If you take Bruno out of the equation, who's the most experienced on that squad?
Probably De Ligt, maybe.
Yeah. And he's been here how long?
Casemiro, I suppose, but he doesn't play week in, week out.
Okay, but if you remove Casemiro because he's going to be gone in the summer, let's say he's gone in the summer.
I'm going to keep naming names, and Chris is going to say, yeah, but if you removed him.
But I mean, I would agree with you in De Ligt, but you could also say maybe Ugarte. But he's been there.
No, you're right, and I think look, your point is absolutely spot on. We need to get some experience into our squad. Every signing can't be, a Chelsea signing at, it's one for 4 years down the line when they're ready to flourish and so on and so forth. But no, look, I mean, I think it's going to be a very interesting summer. And it's going to be a very important summer, and Ineos have got it right so far, and you're only as good as your last transfer window. And I think that's.
And I'll say this: if Rasmus does leave, and because Ipswich is going to get relegated, if you can get the lap for a decent price for pennies, what do you think pennies would be? 30 million?
I suppose the fact that he scored goals in the Premier League, you're probably talking anywhere between 20 and 30 million, I'd say.
Yeah,
I'd be okay with that if Rasmus leaves.
Yeah,
but, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Besides this year, Rasmus has down year, but last year, his first year in the league, he didn't have that down of a year. I mean, and I didn't look this up, but if you looked at Rasmus's year last year compared to Delap's year this year, aren't they very similar?
They're very similar. Yeah, they are. They're very similar. Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on. But yeah. Anyway, look, guys, we'll cut it there and we leave there. We're an hour into it, so I think we've covered all bases, I have to say. And if we were running Manchester United, we would be winning the league next year. And I think that's quite clear. We would just
get the checkbook out.
Checkbook out.
Get
sign
the
them on.
checkbook out.
Happy days. But lads, look, I appreciate you coming on as always. And thanks everybody for watching as well. And do smash the like button, hit subscribe if you're new. If you're listening back on Spotify, give us a 5-star review. Hit that follow button as well. It helps us out an awful lot. We'll be back again with another episode of the podcast next week. As always, I do appreciate you watching. And have a great rest of your week. And we'll chat to you next week. Take it easy.
We'll see you guys.
Good